In this video, I'm going to show you how to get tons of drops from your mob farms by explaining Core Keeper's mob spawning mechanics in a way that's easy to understand, and then show you step by step how to set up your own super efficient mob farm like this one you see here. Welcome back to the channel everyone, my name is Kane, and today I want to help you fix your mob farms, because I know tons of people have been getting very low mob spawn rates.
Man, where is everyone?
In the comments of my last video, so many of you said that you weren't getting many drops, and the game doesn't really explain the spawning mechanics to us, so I went and did a ton of research so that you don't have to. If you find this video helpful and want more Core Keeper guides, please consider subscribing to the channel, I would really appreciate that, but otherwise let's talk about what I found out. If you just want the step by step, you can skip to it in the timestamps. You probably know the basics. You place blocks like slime or moss down to get certain mobs to spawn, but sometimes they're just not spawning. So let's look at why. First of all, the Core Keeper map is split up into spawning cells, or chunks, if you're familiar with Minecraft chunks. The chunk in Core Keeper is a 16 by 16 square of tiles, starting at the origin point on your map, which is 0, 0. You can see that by opening your map and looking in the top right corner. In a single one of these chunks, each mob type has a chance to spawn once, roughly every 15 minutes. There's a bit of a common misconception that your farms should be 16 by 16 in size. This isn't quite accurate, because like I say, only one type of each mob can spawn in every 15 minutes in one of these chunks. But you actually only need around 7 spawn tiles in each chunk. So to maximize your mob spawning, it's actually best to fill the 16 by 16 chunk with a variety of different spawning tiles, like you see here in the video. So let's go set up a chunk ready to spawn some mobs. And just before we start the step-by-step guide, I would just like to point out that a lot of the research I did was from the Core Keeper wiki, and from the Steam guides written by Zero Gravitas. So all credit to Zero Gravitas for his amazingly detailed guides. I linked the detailed guides in the description. So starting from the origin point on our map, where we first spawned into the game, 0, 0, the easiest way to find a chunk to start your farm in is just to walk straight east, 16 tiles at a time. This way we know that we're getting into a fresh chunk. So I'm just going to count out to 32, and let's mark that with a tile here, and let's just give it a color. So this is one tile, and we want to count 16 up on the y-axis. This part is totally optional, I'm mainly just demonstrating what a chunk looks like. There's something called the Core Keeper map tool which will show you your chunk lines on your map. I'll link it in the description. And then we do the same in the other direction until we count out 16 tiles, and then from there we're just going to complete the square to finish off our chunk. So there we have it. This is a 16 by 16 chunk. So inside of this chunk are where your mobs can spawn. In a single one of these chunks, each mob type has a chance to spawn once every 15 minutes. So let's prepare the chunk and start spawning some mobs. The first thing that you want to do to prepare this chunk for farming is making sure that there is no hoed land. Hoed land will actually block mobs from spawning. So let's clean that up really quick. So to get the highest chance of a mob spawning in a single chunk, you actually only really need 7 of one type of spawning tile. So I'm using the ground slime here, and I'm just going to place 7 of them out like so. Now, I could lay out this entire chunk with orange slime, but it would only increase our chances of spawning a tiny amount. So it actually is more efficient to place multiple types of spawning tiles in one of these big chunks. So I'm actually going to place some additional spawning tiles down, starting with the ground slippery slime. You can add any extra spawning tiles you want to this farm. And then I'm going to place down some lush moss. Here's a list of the different spawn tiles from the wiki. And finally, I'm going to place down some stone moss. You can place as many different types of spawn tiles down here as you want, but you only really need 7 of each. Now that these are down, I'm going to place some killing tiles on top. For this, I'm just going to put a couple of spike traps down on the slime area. Now you don't actually need these spike traps because when the other mobs spawn, they're actually all going to end up fighting each other, which means that you can just come by every so often to collect the drops. But let's finish off setting up this farm just as it is right here by closing it off, like so. So this is really all you need for a simple farm in a single chunk. If you add more to this, it really isn't going to increase your mob spawning rate that much. But like I said earlier, mobs spawn once every 15 minutes. But if you have 4 different types of spawning tile, like we do here, we're going to get 4 spawns every 15 minutes instead, which is way more efficient than if this whole block was covered in 1 type of spawn tile. So to increase your drop rates even more, the best thing to do is to repeat your farm in a different chunk. So that could be a chunk up here, or it could be a chunk over here. But to keep things compact, I'm actually going to place this exact farm and mirror it in the 4 adjacent chunks. Because remember, this is 1 chunk, this chunk down here is separate, and so are the other 2. So let's just quickly give ourselves a kind of map so it's easy to follow by just setting out a cross here. And then we'll repeat exactly what we've just done. 7 slimes in one direction. And we'll do the same in each of the 4 chunks. It'll be easier to scale this farm as you unlock more spawn tiles if instead of building a big ditch around the farm, you just use something like fence posts instead. That way you can easily extend them left and right with the new tiles that you unlock as you explore the map. You can also cover all of the spawn tiles with conveyor belts and point them all towards one direction. Then at the end you could have a layer of spike traps to kill all of the mobs that get pushed there. But to keep things simple, I won't be doing that in this video. And of course, let's just place some extra spike traps down just to help with the killing process. I just want to point out that these spike traps don't prevent spawning. These do not block spawning. So this is what our completed farm looks like. Let's just recap what we did here. This huge square is a single chunk. We set up 4 different types of spawning tiles in this single chunk. And because this chunk to the left is a separate chunk, and the other 2 chunks down there are separate, we're gonna get 4 spawns in this chunk, and this chunk. Meaning we'll get 16 spawns every 15 minutes in this little farm, on average. So you can set this farm up here across 4 separate chunks, and other chunks further along. So if you want to set up more of these farms, you would simply have to come to the end of this chunk, count out another 16 blocks, and repeat the process again. You couldn't have the same farm over on this square because this is still part of this chunk over here. You would have to walk 16 blocks out and start the farm somewhere over there. But now that I've showed you step by step how to set this up, let's take a look at it in action and see how effective it actually is. So, like any good manager, I sat in my chair doing nothing for an hour, whilst the mobs all fought and killed each other over on the farm here. After my 1 hour timer was complete, I came back over to the farm, And this is how many drops we had in just this one small farm. As you can see, it is really effective. And yes, I had a lot of anxiety collecting all the drops on this much health. I don't recommend trying this at home. Some final things worth noting. You can automate these farms to collect the drops by using things like drills and robotic arms. If you want a simple automation guide, check out my previous video, which I'll link. Or if you want to farm Shrew Man, make sure you put spike traps over each fungal soil tile, otherwise mushrooms will grow and prevent the Shrew Man from spawning. Also, putting drills or robotic arms on top of spawning tiles will prevent mobs from spawning. However, the tip of the drill and the tip of the robotic arm, basically the tile that the drill is pointing towards, will not block mobs from spawning. Putting spike traps and conveyor belts on top of spawn tiles, however, will not block spawns. And two important final things to note is that mobs won't spawn in a 6-tile radius from you, and mobs will only spawn within 208 tiles of you. If you do want specific details about these different things, go check out Zero Gravitas's guide and give it some love. Thanks for watching, I hope you've gotten some value out of the video. If you have, please consider giving it a like, and if you've got any questions about anything in the video, do drop them down in the comments below. I've really enjoyed chatting with you guys so far, and please consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see more Core Keeper content like this. But until then, take it easy and I'll catch you all in the next one.